I'm very off the cuff. Welcome, everyone, to episode 570 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff, podcast, illustrate. I do things. We'll just leave it at that. My guest is photographer, life coach, rock star extraordinaire. I'm an old guy. Here we go. Pazit Perez. Did I get it?
You got it. You got it. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So, okay. So when I was looking you up, and I was like, the reason I kind of wanted you on the show is you have a pretty cool mentality of just how you kind of approach life and everything like that. So most people don't usually get there like at the beginning. Usually, life usually throws you around before you come to that, like whatever that ideal, whatever the story you tell. So what happened? So when did you wake up one day and realize I'm gonna make my life as awesome as I can, and like how did that come about?
So basically for me, I bottomed out 3 times.
Yeah.
And on my 3rd time, I was aware. The first time I had no idea what I did. The 2nd time I was like, wow, bad luck. And then the 3rd time, I bottomed out exactly the same way I bottomed out the 2 other times. So by that point, I was aware that I had a pattern. And my pattern was that I would create a huge success for myself, and I would self-sabotage it and bring myself like down and under. I would like bury myself. And on the 3rd time, I was wondering why I did that, like what was it in me that would create that? And I didn't know, I didn't get all the answers, but one thing that helped was I had a magazine at the time. I definitely was a very successful photographer, and a lot of people were doing write-ups about my work because I had created something called Vision Portraits. So at that time they had wanted to do an interview on my work and as a photographer, and they had asked me for a new photo of myself because I changed my look a lot. And I didn't have any, and at that time it was like literally, my finances were in shambles. I just left a toxic relationship, so my mindset was like, not the best. And my business was down because I put all my, all my focus was on that relationship working out. I put my whole life on hold for that. And when that fell through, everything fell down, everything crumbled. And here, out of the blue, this magazine calls to get a new photograph. And as much as I resist it, they insist on getting a new updated photograph. So I go into my studio and I do a self-portrait, and what happened next changed my life forever. And what happened was that when I took a look at that photo, in the photograph that I took, I was feeling rock bottom, right? So just picture yourself, you're at your lowest point in your life, So here I am photographing myself in the lowest point of my life, and I'm looking at the picture on my screen, and I see this girl like bigger than life. And I was like, I had this epiphany saying like, I can't believe this is me, meaning I can't believe this is a version of me. Like, wow, I look so powerful. Why do I feel like a failure? Like I'm not good enough. Why am I feeling this? And I had a disconnection for a moment from the way I feel to what I was seeing in the photograph. And that moment, I don't know why I did this. It just came naturally to me. I said to myself, I'm going to become her, meaning her, the girl in the photograph. I said, I am her. I am her. This is how I always saw myself. So what am I doing on rock bottom? And within 90 days from that photograph, I used that, if you want, as what's called a vision. And she kind of inspired me to go back to her. And this was the fastest recovery I've ever done from a bottom. Usually it took me like, over a year to 2 years to, get my business going again, relationship, and this. But this was the first time I was able to do it in 90 days. And so once I did that, I also discovered how we create our reality, because I understood that the photo became the proof of the process, meaning I wasn't her when I took the photograph, but 90 days after, I looked exactly like her. So I became like her. So in essence, I changed the history of photography. If photography, we could take photographs to create memories, why could we not take photographs to capture our visions and create our future? And so now photography can be used as a tangible tool right? Because a vision is something that you see in your mind. It's not something that you can see, if you want, in reality. It's not solid, it's energy, right? And so I found a way to capture our vision as a photograph. And then I tried it on different clients for 3 years, and the result, I would client after client. So I started to understand the process of creation. And so that changed my life. It changed the way I think. It changed the way I perceive the world.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take a step back before we go forward, because there's a couple things that I think are really fascinating about what you did. I want to take a step back first. When you achieved success the first 2 times, was there like a sense of imposter syndrome for you? Like, how did I get here? Why did, I don't deserve this? Why am I here kind of thing? Was that why you were doing some of the self-sabotage? Or was it something deeper? I asked that because I find most people don't. Failure, we're used to failure. Listen, you and I both have ridden a bike. The first time we rode a bike with no training wheels, we fell on our ass. We know what that's like. We know what it's like to try to skate for the first time and hit the ice, we fall on our ass. Everybody knows what it's like to fall on your ass, but when you actually are successful, you're seeing a tangible, positive result of the things you're doing. Yes. That's a completely different thing. Because now you're like, oh crap, what am I doing? Right? And because it's almost like in one very interesting way about success is you don't necessarily, you can imagine success and you can do all the things right and you can still fail. Consequently, if you don't do those things, you'll never succeed. When you start succeeding, it's almost like you're in unfamiliar territory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it wasn't, in my case, it wasn't that. But I totally understand what you're saying. For me personally, from what I understood, once I discovered vision portraits, I started really looking into the power of images and how our mind works. The first 2 times, I didn't change anything on the inside, meaning I grew up in a very critical home. Very, very, so I was criticized a lot. And so that led me to have a very poor self-image of myself. Although on the outside I was successful, on the inside I always felt somewhat like a failure. I had low self-esteem, low self-worth. I know it's hard to say. Sometimes it's hard because today I'm not that person, but growing up, I grew up in an environment where I was not supported. I was not told, oh, how good you do, I was mostly supported in my failures, not in my successes. And that kind of built an image, of myself on the inside, not on the outside. On the outside, I look perfect, but on the inside, I carried an image of failure. And so that image was controlling my results. It was controlling my results. And the moment that I changed that image, when I took that vision portrait of myself and I saw myself bigger than life, something in me shifted on the inside. And when I rebuilt on the third bottom, I rebuilt inside out. And that was the biggest catalyst of my permanent change.
So, okay, I'm going to ask one last thing about that, then we're going to go forward.
Sure,
were you a bit of perfectionist the first? This is the impression I'm getting. I could be totally wrong. If I am, please correct me. Yeah. You're a lot more relaxed this time. There's a lot less. I'm not saying you're always going to be a little harder on yourself than you're going to be on anybody else. I think that's actually, to some degree, a good thing. It keeps you disciplined to keep working and getting better. But someone that's been reinforced by failures and stuff, I would imagine probably had a huge perfectionist streak, especially the first 2 times, right?
Absolutely. I was a perfectionist, and things had to be done right. And my mindset was I would always find a mistake. There could be 99 things amazing, but the one thing that's off, that's the one I would focus on, because that was the values I had. I didn't know that back then, obviously, This is why when I built my second success, obviously success was something that I really connected with in terms of that image, but I wasn't able to maintain it or sustain it again, because the perfectionism, the negative mindset that I had, but I didn't know I had it.
Yeah, no, I get no. Okay, so that's it for backwards. I just it was just a theory. I just wanted to confirm because
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
The perfectionism also helps you. It just depends how you channel that energy. Like today, my perfectionism actually I use it in a positive way, meaning that I like things to be a certain way, but I also know like at one point you just let it go. You just let it go. I don't look for the one bad thing anymore. I look at the 99 good things, and that little shift makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, so for me, I write books and stuff like that, and I realized that um, so I did a conscious decision now when I just do things. I go by this philosophy: an amateur worries about making it perfect, a professional gets it done. The difference being is that the professional, like I don't. I started drawing. I started doing some different things in the last little bit just to do it. I stopped worrying about it being good. I just more worried about get it done because you can always make it better once it's down on the page. You can always do that. The important thing is that the idea is out there because once it's out there, you can take it and build it. I find where perfection is helpful at that point is you can always look at different things to make it better. But there's also a point too. I realized that it's not perfection I'm seeking; it's getting better and change and growth. And and I'm trying again. We always will have a little bit of that idea of what the perfect thing is. And I think a little bit of that's good, but I think a healthier mindset is constantly you can be better, but you can also but you're worrying about like the thing you're doing now is better than the thing you did before. And there's constant growth.
Yeah, but in order to get better, you gotta just like do things, right? And I mean, if we take God as an example, He created the world, but us, people are always like finding new things and making it better. So you can understand one thing from creation is that there's always room for something new. So for me, it's not so much about perfectionism. It's like, do I feel good about it? And if I feel good about it, it's complete. Like next, next. And you're right. We're always evolving. Am I the same person? Am I going to be the same person after I speak to you than I was when I came in before I knew you? No, because something from our conversation today will take something in me, shift in me. So we're always shifting and evolving. So once you understand that concept, you just create things, and when you feel good about them, I only put things that I feel good about, because I do a lot of creative stuff. If I feel good about it, I feel something in me said, we're done. We're done. Stop.
We're done. Let's move on to what's next, right?
Yeah, we're done. And I feel good. I look at it. I'm like, I like it. I'm satisfied. Let's go. Next.
So what you're now let's go to like your present/future here. I think it's really interesting because one of the things I recognize like one of the biggest things, it's not so much about your talent, although talent definitely helps. It makes it easier. Right? It's your attitude towards doing things that make or break your chances of succeeding. And again, something I said, I'm going to preface this by saying this. The paradox of success is you can do everything right and still fail. Yeah. But the flip side is if you don't do these things, if you don't have the right attitude, your job with yourself in terms of building your own successes is you put yourself ideally in the best possible situations to succeed. So that when the opportunity comes, you can actually capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And really, people that get really, really far, the skill they have is they have the attitude. They're open for the good thing that comes their way, and they're smart enough. I equate it to being smart enough to recognize the chocolate that you discovered, chocolate chips and cookie dough. That's a wonderful thing, and recognize that the wonderful thing that it is, and then share it to the world. And that I think is a big skill set of success. It doesn't really get talked about very much. You have to be ready for it, and I think for a lot of people that's a very tricky thing.
You see, like we all go through school and nobody ever teaches us about mindset and thoughts or creative and all that. So a lot of us come out of like university by the time, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s, okay, depending on what you're studying. And for your first 30 years of your life, you haven't been exposed to it. And now your mind is set that life is a certain way. And you're not willing to accept or, you have a tendency to reject new ideas. And I think that that is the downfall of many people. And also this knowledge came to me firsthand, which I package into a book as well. But this knowledge came to me firsthand in terms of how we create our reality, and it's not being taught, by the masses. So a lot of people, this information, they say it's woo. It's not woo. It's like natural. It's the natural laws of life if you really think about it. Now, I know that for myself, and when I read a lot of biographies, and I've also, interviewed a lot of like celebrities and very successful entrepreneurs, and the basis of it all is it all comes down to the mindset, to the way they think, the pictures that they hold in their minds. You'll notice that everybody that's successful as an self. Maxwell Maltz actually, he did a whole book on psycho-cybernetics. He did a whole book on self-image. And he explained exactly the principle, how people have two self-images. The one when you look in the mirror, how you see yourself every day. But the one that controls your life is the invisible one that you have in your mind. So fail to change that. Like I failed to change it the two first times. And so that image of me being unworthy was stronger. So I always reverted back to that image of myself. And like you said, I was doing everything right. In terms of like, oh, work hard, everything that society teaches you, work hard, do this, do that. I did everything by the book, and it led to my success, but it also led to my downfall because I did not have the mindset to support the success that I got. And so the first thing I would suggest to anybody who wants to create wealth or success in any area is to first look at the thoughts that you have. Look at the results in your life. They will tell you how you think. If you're always going from one relationship to the next, there's something that you are doing that is not working out for you. If your financial situation is not where you want to be, it's 100% guaranteed to the image on how you portray yourself on the inside and the way that you think about money, about success. And this actually controls your results in your life. So I would start inside out, inside out.
You have to. At some point in life, like we all have our little, like, I call it the come to Jesus point, where you can no longer run and hide from you. You have to look very honestly about what you are and who. I have this, like, so about 3 years ago, I came to this wonderful conclusion about people. In any circumstance, no matter what the circumstance is, people will do exactly what they want to do. That is human nature. The only real question is which wants are being served with what they're doing. Are they consciously aware of the wants they're projecting, or are they following some unconscious desire they may not be fully aware of, right? And that's a very, very tricky thing, because no matter how, like, again, I figured this out, and this is great and wonderful. That doesn't mean I'm not a victim of this. We all are victims to it on some level or another, right? Yeah. So you have to be aware of, like, what do you really want? Like in my case, I decided in the last year I tried to become a freelancer. First year it was great, but the biggest thing I had to learn was what kind of freelancer did I want to be?
Yes.
And that, I think, is the biggest hurdle, like becoming an independent, is, okay, I'm independent. Now what? Right?
What you want, of course, because that's how your mind works. Your mind, like, your mind needs direction, so you have to give it what you want it to be. And that's what I learned, and that was like a lot of my success in terms of in my studio work was every single person that came in for what we call the vision portrait. The first question was like, okay, so what do you want to be? And some people would say, well, I want to go from I've been at 6K for like 3 years now, I want to make my million now. Or somebody would say, you know what? I've always dreamed of becoming a writer. Like, I'm tired of working in retail, So the first thing was to match their goal or their vision of themselves to look like that writer, to look like that millionaire already. We were taught in society that, if we want success, we're going to wait to see it. You know what I mean? Like in 3 years, if I become successful, now I get to see it. I say, why wait? We can create it. We can create it ahead of time. We can hack hack the system if you want, or we can fast forward the system where we give our mind an image, And what was fascinating is that I would see all my clients within 2 weeks to a year, like the success rates were incredible, they were so high because it would change the way a person would see themselves. They would no longer see themselves as, like, say, I had this one, which I absolutely adore. She was a mom and she always wanted to do acting. She wanted to become an actress, but she was a mom, she was like a stay-at-home mom. So she saw herself as a stay-at-home mom. You're never going to become an actress if you see yourself as a stay-at-home mom. So her vision shoot was making her look like the parts that she wanted to attract for movies. And within about 6 months, I happened to have a connection. I connected them first movie, but it had a really nice track. And so she managed to do her dream like under a year, when most people want to become actors and actresses for years, and they don't have this kind of success so fast. So it was really fascinating how once you're able to perceive yourself as already successful, as an actress and not as a mom, as a famous writer and not a retailer, somebody who's working in retail, just that gives your mind something to work with, and slowly but surely you get inspired ideas and you start acting like that person. Like an actor, you start acting like that new role that we're giving you. So it was really fascinating.
The people say it's fake it till you make it. That's not exactly the truth. What it is it's recognizing what you actually want and trying to figure out, be the steps how to be that person. I want.
Why they say fake it? They say fake it till you make it because you're not that person yet, but you are. You're not that person yet in reality. That's what it means, fake it till you make it. You're not that person yet in reality. But the moment that you can think and picture yourself as that person, you are it. This is what people need to understand. If you picture yourself, so you told me that you write books, okay? If you picture yourself as this famous author that's known worldwide, that has huge success, if you picture yourself as him, you are already him. So you got to start acting like that, like that personality. So that personality of this famous author that has books and success, and he has like TV interviews and magazines wants to write about him. So you got to walk with that energy, like. Even you smile at people and you're like, oh, I think they recognize me, When you go to restaurants, you see yourself signing autographs, people coming up with your books and saying, oh my God, I want to get your autograph. So you put yourself in that thing that even when you're sitting at a restaurant, you see it happening. You feel when you walk into a place, you exude that importance, So on my third rock bottom, that's what I did. At that time, my cash flow went lower than what I was normally accustomed to, okay? Like it wasn't like the pits, but it was lower than what I was accustomed to. What I did was I went into all 5-star hotels. I went into the Ritz-Carltons. I would spend days there. I would have coffee there. Why? Because when I was there, I felt so, big, and it helped, being in that environment helped me shape who I am. Today, I live that lifestyle. But back then, I did what I could. I said, instead of having a coffee at Starbucks, I'll have a coffee at the Ritz, and people would open the door for me. They valet, they knew my name. I would go there every day. That people actually thought I lived there. All the staff thought I lived there. They were like, hi, Mrs. Perez, because I exuded that energy. And when I would walk into the Ritz, even though I felt broken, I walked and I felt like $1 million, So it's very important to play that part, and people respond to you.
Yeah, no, that's kind of why. I had to go back and get a day job, at least for the time being, because again, by the time I figured out what I needed to do, it was like I need to go get a day job. I got to reinvest in myself and then go back out again. And already, some breaks have already happened since I've made this commitment. One of the things I think I had to look at too, and be very honest about: what am I good at? What do I need to work on? Right, because and we are always an incomplete process. And I was very honest with myself. It's like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go from here? and work, and again, to overcome what limitations I have, you have to, I think, also acknowledge what you're not good at, and if not necessarily avoid it, try to turn those things a little bit into a strength as well, right? And
well, you see, that's where I believe it's not right thinking. I wouldn't focus on what I'm not good at. I would focus on everything I'm good at, you know? I would look at all like, okay, so Pazit, what are you good at? Okay, well, creatively, you know, graphic-wise, you're amazing. You're very good with people. You have great communication skills. So then I take everything that I'm good at, okay? And then I say, where can I use those talents? Where can I multiply those talents? And that's how you go about it, you know? So don't, you know, and you don't need to, you know, basically when you create a vision board, like I just said, if you see yourself as being this famous author and you see yourself living that lifestyle, you're going to think, what can I do? What can I do to live it right now? Why should I wait? What, you know, can I clean up? Can I, you know, if I was this persona, how would I dress? Can I dress like that now? And you know, and the answer is yes, you can. You know, you can find an outfit. You'd be like, if I went to meet people, I would look like this. Can I put myself together? And so you start with those changes, and those changes will bring other changes. Because once you put on that, I don't know, you can call it that Superman suit. You know, once you put that part of I'm this famous, successful writer who everybody comes to and whatever. Like I said, you know, there is the law of attraction is very real. You will attract people that will meet you at that level. They'll be like, who's that guy? And you still, you know, and you're still like, let's just say not known, you know? Because they're gonna be like, who's that guy? And people will even like come up to you and say, I've seen you somewhere. I had so many people come up to me and say, I've seen you, you're on TV or something. And I was not on TV, nothing. And I'd be like, oh, how'd you know? And I would just play the part. I wasn't like, no, I'm not, you know, like I have to go back to reality. No, I was like a child. I was like, oh my God, where did you see me? I said, yeah, I had so many TV appearances. Where did you see me? You know? And I just played, you know, when you're a child and you play, just play the part, you know? And that's how you get good at something. And then you try different things and you get better. How'd you get good at writing? You wrote, and you write every day, I imagine.
Not quite, but most days, yes.
Okay, most days.
Yeah, most days. I so like the vision thing, like so like this show, I've done 570 of them, right? Won awards, done some cool things. My ultimate goal is eventually, at least the next immediate goal is get a vehicle that's big enough so I can travel. Both I'm in Canada right now. I want to go to Canada, United States. So I'm a storyteller who loves to hear other people's stories as well. Hence why I asked you very nicely, could you please come on my show? Because you're an interesting person, right? And you've done some amazing things. And as a result, it's like, because that's interesting to me, because everybody has this cool story. Everybody's got a different story. Yet it's amazing that in those differences also we're very similar as well. And that's what I want to do. So this, right now, it's like, well, I can't quite drive to countries yet, and maybe very soon, but just the way things are going, but I can't do it right yet. So I'm doing the next best thing. I go to people like yourself, please come on my show. It'll be awesome and fun. And you'll say either yes or you'll say no. But either way, and then I keep going and I keep asking bigger and bigger people as well, just because the worst someone can tell me is no. And I'm exactly where I am at, or maybe even better. And so I've already taken the whole concept of taking a vision to life. The difference between us is I write my stuff down. You take a picture of it, which I think is a very interesting approach. So
about it, you know, writers, okay, have the medium of pen and paper. Visions can only be expressed either through art, like artists can paint landscapes and can paint people that haven't even been birthed yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And photography is one way that you can take an idea that's in your mind and see it in physical reality, because we have to understand how we work. We work from energy, meaning thoughts, which you can't see. It's like not as, it's like it's a substance that you can't see. Nobody's seen this thought. Have you seen a thought today? No. But we have them, but you can't see them. So it's not tangible. And visions, when you vision yourself, I vision myself living this lifestyle. Like right now, you shared with us that you vision yourself traveling across the US and doing these different interviews. Visions cannot be captured, and that's why they're forgotten. So photography is a quick way. Everybody today has access to a camera on their phone. I mean, and so you can capture yourself already as that, so you can use it as your roadmap. When we used to go on vacation back then, before we had GPSs, we had a map. So we know where we're going, and so the photo becomes a map, and it's a way to translate images. And since we do think in images, we have to understand the mechanics of the mind, which most people don't understand, is that our mind works with images, and what we see on the outside is a projection of what we have on the inside. So you have to make that connection. The what you think and picture on the inside is a projection on the outside. So hence, we are creating our reality by the thoughts and images that we think.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna switch gears just.
So
sorry, you did. Yeah, I'm gonna switch gears just slightly because it occurs to me in your line of work. Before you took a picture, I'm gonna ask. I'm just curious. We're gonna go back to the past a little bit. Before you started doing these maps, what was the kind of photography you did?
I did portraits. I just did portraits, and so basically, people would come to me, and they would come dressed as they are, and they would do. I would do portraits of everything from celebrities that I've shot, basketball players, families, newborns. You could see my work. You could just Google Pazit Perez. You'll see like a lot of my work. It was very edgy, very fun, very unique, and very different. Vision portraits change because before a person would come into the session, I wouldn't get people to just come and sit and do a shoot. Let's update my photo. There's no update of photo when you go and you sit and you look the same as you did like last year. It's not an update.
Yeah. I totally agree.
So an update is like, I would start asking people like, tell me, what do you want to achieve this year? And they would tell, before they were in studio, what do you want to achieve this year? And they're like, oh, I would want to make more money, or I'd like to get a job. I'd like to become a New York Times bestseller. Like they would tell me like their dreams. And I said, oh, okay. And then I would ask them, like, when you close your eyes, how do you picture yourself? Like, what do you look like if you have that success or you have the millions in your bank account? And they would describe me how they envision themselves. And what I would do is, because my language is images, I would put what's called a mood board or a style sheet. And before coming into the studio, they had to bring pieces that would make them look like the person they want to become. So now we have like a picture with a purpose. And so when they saw themselves, they were like, they would right away see a different version of, they're like, oh my God, I look like a millionaire. I'm like, I know. You do. Because certain people have certain looks, you know what I mean? In terms of like, if you're, if you're becoming, like, say, for example, a VP of a company, you're dressed differently than somebody who's maybe going in as just an assistant. You might dress differently. And so it's very important that you see yourself as a match, that the picture that you have on the outside of yourself is a match to who you're becoming. And that's when the alignment happens naturally and fast.
No, it's true. So basically, in one very real sense, you're almost creating a story for each and every person that comes through the door now. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm capturing the vision, in essence, like for example, if we take you as an example, I would say to you, how do you want to see yourself at the end of this year? What would you say?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I would see myself on the road. I would be dressing in probably a little bit more of a casual kind of dress. Cause
What's casual? Like, what are you wearing now that you're?
I'm wearing a dress shirt, jacket, no tie, dress pants.
Dress shirt?
What?
What color is your dress shirt?
White or blue.
White with blue. And your jacket?
If the shirt's white, either same thing, like a blue, a blue or a black kind of, like a navy blue kind of black thing. I would look more kind of like the host. I would look kind of like the host I've seen on television that I modeled my show after, because that's where I'm going. I would be coming in either with something as wonderfully goofy as a Mystery Machine style band, or maybe something or if it gets to the point where I become like maybe the next Larry King or something like that. Maybe I come in with like an RV, kind of like the logo of my show, and I would be just going from town to town, and I would be just like, hanging out and just going like someone like you. It's like, so where are you most comfortable? And I meet you in your most comfortable place wherever. Like I'd have some either camera equipment or I'd have audio equipment. I'm not quite sure when I first start whether it be audio or visual, but eventually I do see it as a visual. I'd go in there.
Cool. So at first you would have so you'd be wearing like a shirt, blue and white. You'd have your blue jacket. What are you wearing? Like what kind of pants are you wearing? Dressy or?
Dressy, but like not necessarily the most. It'd be something I think if it was ideal, like something that's custom looking, but not necessarily so formal that I make people go blind looking at me, because I look at it this way. I still see myself as I'm a creative. I see myself more as a creative than necessarily as a businessman, but I also like for the part.
So like rocker style pants, something like that.
Something like that. Something like that.
What kind of shoes are you wearing?
Just basic, either basic black like dress shoes.
Dress shoes? Are they shiny or matte?
What?
Shiny or matte? Your shoes, are they shiny?
I'd say matte. Yeah.
Do you have laces or no laces?
No laces. I don't think I'd be wearing laces on.
Okay. How's your hairstyle then? And how's
so hairstyle. Well, when I can get a haircut again in Canada, what I'm going to be doing is real short here, like almost non-existent hair on top. Not quite a mohawk, not like a mushroom cut, but nice, like something nice and short. I'm ready to get a haircut. I just can't right now because we are.
It's okay. We don't need the whole story. So
yeah.
What I want to show your audience is you have a very clear picture. Like, where did this come from, right? You're very clear, not even down to the color, to the shoes that you're wearing, to the style of your hair. So what I would say to you and to anyone listening, that persona, you got to start being him today. You got to find somebody who can cut your hair, okay? And you can if you look for one. Okay?
I have been. I have been.
You can, or maybe somebody listening to the show will say, hey, I heard you. I'm a hairdresser. I'd like to come cut your hair.
Yeah.
You want to attract it. You start wearing that style very similar to the way that you would look. If you don't have the exact pieces, come as close as you can so you reflect that already. Start doing that from today. Don't wait for the van or the road trip for you to get there. And that's what I'm saying. And capture that image of you. Not only will you start looking like that, you start thinking from him. So today when you sit down, you're wearing your suit, you're channeling his energy, and you're like, so what are we gonna do today? You're like, today, I think, the first place I'm going to go is, I don't know, maybe we should go to California first, for our first date, So you start like thinking like that. And okay, so if I'm going to California, who would I like to interview there?
Mm-hmm.
Let me get some prospects. Oh, I know John Assaraf is in California. I know so-and-so is in California. So all of a sudden now you're writing a list of people in California. And then you think, well, if I'm going to be there, maybe I should reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, you're emailing these people. And so you see how when you're acting from him, you're already doing the things that he would do. Exactly. Versus doing the things that you're used to doing. And that's the difference. So remember how we go back to the beginning of the interview where you're like trying to see what you need to change? You don't need to change anything. You need to focus on where you're going and work from that persona so you can operate like that persona so you can get to be him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he thinks differently than you. So the girl that I saw in that picture, did not think she was a failure. She thought like she was the it. I saw my look in her, you know what I mean? Like, and today, exactly. And today, like, I shine that, you know, I'm like, when I walk into a place, I feel very confident, and it's not cocky. It's just, I feel good in who I am. Like, I'm very confident in who I am. You understand? And this time, it has nothing to do with the money, because before I would get a lot of my security, if you want, from my success and my financial situation, beautiful life. So, but when that was taken away from me, so was my security, because it never came from who I am. It came from the outside, but the outside crumbles, and then what? But today, I'm secure within myself. Whether my world crumbles or not does not matter.
No, and actually, that's a very important thing. I learned this a long time ago too. Is that confidence goes an incredibly long way. If you actually approach making just something simple as looking at someone, making eye contact, saying, "Hey, I'm Josh. How you doing?" It disarms people in like the best possible way, because oh my gosh, he's authentic, he's serious, and people take you seriously when you're confident in what you're doing.
And people are so friendly. That's what I noticed. When I reached out to a lot of celebrities back then, I was just coming out of my my stage, and I used to remember that I used to see them as years and I feel there's no gap. We're all the same. And they were so nice. They were all such nice people, And of course, again, the more you do something, I always say find something that you're very good at, because that will give you, how do you build confidence? By knowing that you're good at something, I know I'm very good as a photographer. I know I'm very good as an artist. I know I'm very good with people. So knowing that I have those skills gives me confidence, but I didn't have them at first. I used to be very, very shy. I would not talk to anybody. That's why I chose to be a photographer. We're behind the scenes. We never had to show our face. You never had to, right?
No, it's funny because I've interviewed so many like writers, like different like talents, and I found like the shyest people were always the people in the more visual mediums, right? Illustrators, photographers, because partially though, and in all fairness to you, it's also I don't know if this is as true today because you have a lot more practice now. Yeah. Probably when you started, you were a more visual person. You saw things visually, and it was easier for you to communicate visually. Doesn't mean you couldn't speak, but for you, it was much more comfortable. It's like, here's a picture. It says everything I need to say. Here you go. Now, as you've gotten older / wiser, we'll let the universe decide how wise you've become, right? You recognize the fact that while yes, picture is worth 1,000 words, but that confidence to go up to somebody and introduce yourself and actually just, hey, I'm Pazit. I'm going to be your photographer. Let's talk about you. What are we trying to accomplish here? That command of the situation makes the business of dealing with people a lot easier. And a lot of the stuff that makes artists uncomfortable, like sales, marketing, things like that, you skip all that BS because you're just being yourself. And there's an authenticity to it that you've learned.
Yeah. And you're really, and also like, you're good. Like, when you see your work, remember what I told you, like it goes back to, I knew my work was, first of all, I was doing extremely well. So I knew it was really
of course, right?
And I had a very unique product. Like my photography style is very different. I still do photography today, but very, very exclusively. And I charge a very, very high rate for anybody who comes into my studio today. But my life has shifted. But all this to say that, confidence. Today when I look at my work today, I love it. Even like years later, I look at it like today, and I really reached like a place where, like I've reached everything I wanted to do. But yes, I've always been visual, and I also have vision, like in terms of like I can foresee things ahead of time. I think that's a gift that I have. And we all have gifts, and I think it's just like using our gifts that we have and express them. Like your gift of writing has to always be expressed, Now I mix a lot. Although I don't do as much photography, I do a lot of branding for my client, like private clients, in terms of like, everything that has to do with their marketing mediums. And I'm sure if you've seen my Facebook page, all my posts, all that, I love the idea of mixing images and words. I like how they can kind of like get a reaction from somebody, And the thing is with pictures, what's amazing is that they have an emotional component. That's what I discovered. The wisdom of photography, people don't really understand. The laws of the universe also works with emotion. The language of the universe is emotion, okay? And so even if you speak words, if there's no it's the strongest emotion that brings what you want to life. So that's why sometimes you could say, I want to be really wealthy, but your emotion is you feel broke inside. You always feel like, you feel broke inside, so you're never going to achieve it. So pictures have a way of changing your emotion. When you look at pictures, you could feel happy, you could feel sad, or you could feel like nostalgic. It could bring up good memories of somebody, bad memories of somebody. So it's really, really funny. And now what if you could use your images, to fast forward your life, to propel you into your dream? And so why not? Why could you not do that? So I thought that was what was really super fascinating.
So words and pictures have always been like, I'm a comic book guy. Like I read, I'm a big comic book junkie. So if you really sit there and think about what comics are, and this is where it's similar, maybe what you do. It's you're capturing a moment in time, right? Especially like comics and storyboards are a merger of words and pictures. And the idea is if it's done really, really well, it captures that emotion of that exact moment, right? Or everything in the comic, the story you're being told is built into this very specific moment. And when it hits that moment, it resonates with people in such a very sharp and wonderful way. I mean, that's the art of all storytelling. There are photographs of, there are famous photographs in like magazines like Rolling Stone. There's things you've done that I know that emotionally, like that have emotionally touched not only your clients, but yourself. Sometimes the best stuff, there's this, I cannot remember his name and it's going to kill me. He was a famous advertiser in New York. He did a little book about talent, and he used his billboards to actually express lessons he learned along the way. And it's amazing. It's amazing what an image can do.
Yes,
right. And especially if there's a lot. And I think the most surprising thing to me is, I think great art actually, and no matter what the medium is a form of problem solving. But it's a form of problem solving that creates like this really neat emotional connection between the person witnessing it and the artist that makes it.
That's right. And so in that perspective, emotions play a very big part in creation. And so that's why I always say create a portrait of yourself where you can emotionalize with it. Because in that moment, when I took my vision portrait and I saw myself bigger than life, the shift was emotional. I emotionally connected with the girl in the photograph, and my clients emotionally connect with that higher version of themselves. And that's what created the shift and the achievement of the success so fast. And I think it's quite fascinating. And then one night I was, I was sleeping, obviously, and I was awakened. And I just like I had like this, the whole wisdom behind it that came through me, which I put in my book. I was guided to write a book and put it out into the world. I never thought of writing a book. It was never like, I want to become an author. I had absolutely no plans for that. But once the dream came, I was kind of given guidance to publish it and put it in the world, And I never wrote before. And what was really funny was a lot of people that know me, and they're like, we didn't know you can write, right? And I said, neither did I.
Yeah, no.
Not until today. I'm like, neither did I. And today I write a lot. So you see, like, there's so many talents in you that you haven't even discovered yet, Like I didn't know I had that talent until it came through me, But we all have so many different talents, and at the right time, they come out because they need to be expressed.
So I actually, this is a good way. I think a good segue into this then. See, this is my belief personally about any talents we have. Talent is great, but you have to use it. because it's that use of your talent that opens up doors to all these other talents you have inside you. And and if you also don't use them for whatever reason, they can act. I'm not going to say they can ever completely go away, but they become part of the background. Like if you decide that I'm not going to write that book, well, someone else would inevitably write that book, right?
It will
Right.
be written because it's energy. A thought is energy, and it goes from one mind to the next. So think of it like this: you're given a gift,
Mhm.
and you know when somebody gives you a gift in real life, sometimes you're like, "Oh, I don't like it. Like, why'd you give me this?" And you take it back. That's what you're doing with your
Yep.
talent. You know, your gift is meant to be expressed. And so for me, like when that book came through me, I knew nothing about the publishing world because just like I knew
Yeah.
nothing. You know, it wasn't like, oh my God, I want to become I want to write a book. And so I did all this research. I didn't know anything. At that exact moment when the book came through me, the universe connected me with one of my good friends at the time. We were very close. She was a publisher. She helped me put the book out within 3 days. Like, what are the chances that the right, perfect person, I didn't know her before this book came through me, but once this book came through me, I met this person who happens to be a publisher, who happens to help me every step of the way to get the book out. You know, it was already written. It was nothing for me to add because when I finished the download, I was exhausted and it said it's complete. So I was like, that's it. I'm not adding anything else, you know? And basically it was all about the process of creations and how pictures play a role and how we create a reality and how powerful we are. And so my friend helped me package it. So again, law of attraction, we're taught to hustle, go get this, go. Your job is to know what you want, to stay in what you want. So if you write it. You know, if you want to become a famous writer, you write every day, and then you get ideas, inspiration. Maybe one day you wake up and you're like, I don't know, I feel like doing a comic book. Let's just say, you know, and you're like, that's so stupid. Why would I want to do comic book? Nobody reads comics. You talk yourself out of your gift. It comes to you. When it comes to you, you have to act on it.
Mhm.
So that's what I learned. That when I get an inspiration, I just act on it. I don't question it anymore. I'm just like, oh, that's weird. Okay, whatever, I'll do it. You know?
It's a good way to be because if you can eliminate the fear of a lot of people go, well, what if this happens? What if that happens?
Yeah.
And the really simple question is, what if it works? My experience in life is all my failures have actually led to other successes. They don't necessarily show up right away, but the lessons I learned. Okay, last year, I didn't meet my freelance goals. And there are reasons for that. But one of the things I learned from that was, okay, I now have this foundation that I can build on. And then at some point, sooner than later, I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to succeed next time. Because of all the lessons I did. And again, I'm not quitting. All I did was, okay, I have to take a step back. Take a step back, get yourself ready to go, and then go forward again. And then when you
moving forward, that's what I say. Like,
yeah,
I always I have setbacks too, but I know that the setbacks are not for real. You know, like for me, I laugh at it. I'm like, you know.
Right. I mean, again, no matter how good you are, you're never going to bat 1,000. I wish, but I mean, it wouldn't be worthwhile if I could bat 1,000, right?
It's part of the game. It's part of the game. So you're gonna go to somebody who's gonna say no to you, and you're like, okay, not for now. Okay, let me find another way. You know, if you try to find another door, you know, but you don't. You said, you know, you keep taking steps all the time, and I think that's what's important is not to get discouraged. You know, not to feel defeated. Your setbacks don't mean that you're not going to get to what you want. But the most important is to understand what set you back and change that. You know what I mean? Like change your course, change your course. You know, change what you're doing. Don't keep doing the same thing. You'll know the results you're going to get. But if you want to get different results, you just say, wait a minute. You know. Let me do that, or let me get a coach. Let me get somebody. That's another thing. It's very hard to see on ourselves the way that we think or the way that we are because it's natural for us. And the environment we hang out in, which is family, friends, maybe girlfriend, husband, whatever you want to, you know, they also are used to seeing us as one personality. So when you start deviating, people are like, what's wrong with you, right? So the idea is, it's always, I believe that it's better to always go to someone that's outside of your circle and speak to them, because they will give you a new perspective and a new perception. You know, go to like a professional, somebody that has achieved the kind of success that you want to achieve. Go to them, you know, and they have the experience to see beyond. Because I couldn't understand the first 2 times. I couldn't understand what I was doing to get the results I was getting. You know, why would I self-sabotage? I didn't understand that it was all linked to the way I thought of myself, or the way I pictured myself, until, you know, I had a coach, and but I started to understanding the mind, you know.
Yeah. So do you still do the coach, or or is it like a therapist? I actually, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Like, I have talked to a lot of successful people in the last little bit, and a lot of them do go to outside sources for the same reason you just mentioned, just because I can't see everything. I
No.
wish I'm not built. I'm not supposed to. Like, we are supposed to work together. I think one of the, like, my top teeth are false. When I went to fix my teeth, it was the first time in my life I really, really asked for help. And I look back on that and was like, that was the strongest thing I ever did. Not because I was willing to be vulnerable enough to ask for help.
You gotta ask for help. Yeah, like society, like teaches you that if you ask for help, you're weak, you know, but you're not. Asking for help is very, very strong. And successful people, we always ask for help, you know, like, I need you to help me out, or I have this thing, you know, let me just, it doesn't mean I'm going to take their opinion, but there could be something that they said that triggers a new idea in me, you know, or they could be like, oh, Pazit, I noticed that you keep saying this. And I was like, really? And I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, like, I just, you know, they're not here to convince you, but they're here to kind of reflect back to you what you're saying, and you're able to see it because it's you. You know what you do, and you're like, yeah, it's true, I do that, you know.
Well, I think, like I said, the best thing is, like, you like, there are things we've talked about, and some things some of what you've talked about for me to do, I've already know, like, I need to do these things, and that's kind of why I'm like, again, and I know this. You just have reaffirmed something I've been aware of for a while, right? You have to treat yourself like you are that part at all times in order to get there, right?
Yeah, you don't have to wait to get there. You do it today. Like,
yeah, exactly. No,
I don't know where you're in Canada, so I think we share the same time zone. But let's just say tomorrow I would start my day as him. Like, that's it. You know, like, I'll be like, okay, let's clean up. You know, I'll do my hair the best way. I'll already, like, clean my face. I'll wear shirts. When I interview people, I'm already gonna look like him. I'm already gonna wear that shirt, that jacket. You know, I'm already gonna start impersonating him. I'm gonna sit and think like him. What does he do? Oh, you know, he does this and he takes this kind of action. And since he's on the road, he's gonna look at people from those areas, because that's where we're going to next. You start taking that energy, you start feeding that energy, and before you know it, you'll become that person.
Yeah, you know, and it doesn't. And honestly,
the opportunity might even come. Maybe somebody who has a van will say, "Hey, you know, I've seen your show, and they'll want to team up with you." Like, it's incredible. I always say we have our plans, but the universe has even better plans. So always stay open. Always stay open. Things have come to me in ways that were so magical, and I could tell you something. I used to be very much of a planner, you know, because, like, you got to be real, you know, as a Pazit, you got to be realistic, you know. And so I used to plan for a lot of things, and even though I plan for so many things, they won't, things, even though if you plan for them, will not go as you want. Like, you might have a flat tire, you know what I mean? Like, you might have not foreseen this flat tire on your road. For you, you're like, there's no flat tire on my trip, you know? But then you have one, so what do? You gotta adjust. But what I notice is that all these different things, you just have to understand, to know what you want, and all the pieces will come to you. But you have to act. When I say take action, not just action like to do something, but it's called an inspired action. An inspired action is something that will come to you like a whisper, or almost you're going to be like, what? Why am I thinking of this? Like, all of a sudden you're thinking of this person that you have not talked to in 20 years, and you're thinking, I should reach out to them. And your mind logicalizes this and says, why would you need to talk to them? We haven't talked to them in 20 years, you know? You can. If you get this intuition to talk to this person, go reach out to them, and then you'll find out that this person now happens to do filming and all this, and they're looking for somebody, and then you share ideas, and you're like, oh my God, and I want to do interviews, and it'd be so cool if you can film. And all of a sudden you understand the connection between calling this person and what you're doing, because all the parts are going to be attracted to you, and by inspired action, you receive them. You might have to write an email, you might have to answer a phone call. I was just thinking, oh my God, I'd like to get a property, where I'm at. And this real estate agent calls me out of the blue, don't know who she is. She misdialed a number, and she's offering me a property in the exact same location that I'm looking for, but she was calling for somebody else. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm looking for a property. It was so perfect. It's so perfectly synchronized that things happen in a way that you cannot even imagine, that you know that it comes from, from the universe, if you want. It comes because you thought about it. It's not because I went, got a real estate agent's phone number, started calling people up to find the property. It wasn't my doing. It was really me thinking, being aligned with it, and getting a phone call out of the blue from somebody who doesn't know me, who misdials, and offers me the exact property I'm thinking about.
So, actually, this would be a good final topic before we call the interview up, and that's this. So my whole career, writing, podcasting, all that stuff, has been basically a happy accident. I accidentally wrote and published my first book traditionally. They were both entire accidents. I wanted to do I came back from Arizona, and I was in Calgary, Alberta at the time. And I wanted to get back into writing, because I wanted to do a longer poem. So I wrote one about a slave boy that was in this tower, and his family was being served by dragons. It was a really cool piece. I really liked it. And I kind of wanted to know what happened next. So then I had, in chapter 2, he kills his dragon master and escapes into the wilderness. Well, I got to know what happens next. Chapter 3's first night alone, which is still some of my favorite writing that I've ever done to this day. Chapter 4 goes on, and now he's in this weird and wonderful new world. And then that led to chapter 5. And then when I got to chapter 6, I realized that this was a story I was going to tell. It just so happened that I read comics. So I got the person that eventually did the cover and some of the illustrations on the inside. She had done a comic I just saw her name. I was like, oh my gosh, Small Works. I used to work with her at a Kinko's of all places. And she was in art school at the time too for it. Like she's good. Still one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. And so she said yes. So I did this. So my master plan was, I'm going to publish this on Smashwords and sell physical copies of shows, like nothing big. And then I put it on Smashwords. Someone buys it, and then she answered me. It's someone that I actually interviewed years ago, and she goes, "So, what are you going to do with this? This is cool." I'm like, I told you. So she goes, "Well, I just signed a deal with Ingram Spark. I'm starting a publishing house. I'll publish it." So accidentally wrote it, accidentally got published. My podcast was something similar. I got the opportunity to interview Robert J. Sawyer. I've been doing interviews for 20 years. And so we do this interview in this writing conference in Calgary. Pretty good interview. I actually finally had a phone like this. Finally got a smartphone. It's like, yes, I'm in the 21st century, right? This is almost like 6 years ago to the day, actually. It's about 5.5 years ago. And we do the interview. We come out. Someone, I cannot remember who, asked Rob a question about what he was doing. He goes, "Oh, I was talking to Josh about his podcast." I didn't have a podcast at the time. I was like, actually, and something clicked. Could I do a podcast? And so this is like 500, episode 570. So it's like my I think the most important, like I've always said this, I was just smart enough to embrace my accidents, but I realized probably the biggest lesson I learned doing everything I've done in life is that what I want, I got, but I got it in a way I never imagined it would happen. Like that, and I think like I said this earlier, embracing the chocolate chips in your cookie dough is a very important life lesson. Is it will never look like what you imagine it when the moment comes.
Yeah.
But you have to be smart enough to see it and act upon it, because then who knows, right? And who knows where that.
Yeah, well, that's it. Again, because as children, that's how we went through life. We knew it. We knew this knowledge. We We knew it, we experienced it. Everything was wonderful. We were in awe with everything, you know. And then we kind of went through the filtrations, if you want, or indoctrinations of society, and we kind of lost touch with our naturalness, you know, and our powers, and you know. And you'll notice that just like it happened to you, it was just very fluid, and you just went from one idea to the next, and one chapter to the next, and you know, and you just put it out there, and then somebody reaches out, and that's exactly how things work, even in nature. Nature takes care of itself, doesn't need anyone to take care of it. You know, it functions. It's like the sun goes down, the moon comes up, the clouds are in, the clouds are out, it rains, rainbow, you know. Everything has a divine order, and so does the way that we live. You know, we are made in the image of the Creator, whichever way you want to see it. And because we're made in the image of the Creator, we have the same powers as the Creator, except that we have to know it, understand how it works, and apply that into our life. And now I live my life creatively. I mean, I think that everything that was in the past, I see life so differently now that I would say the lenses have been, you know, removed, and I've been able to experience firsthand this knowledge. And I just see that it works, and it's so fluid, and I'm happier. And, you know, and I just know that even when something goes not, I would say, not the way I was expecting it to go, I always say, universe, what are you up to here? Like, I know we're playing, you know? I'm like, what's good about this? You know, what's good? And so I'm noticing all these opportunities, financial, people, all this just coming to my life, you know, right place, right time, right attitude, like you said. And knowing where you're going also helps a lot, because you attract things that are in line with you, you know? So yes, the thoughts that you say, the words that you speak, the environment that you live in, everything affects your, you know, how you think and how you picture. So once you're able to make that connection, so if I want to be more financially successful and I'm not there yet, there's something in me that is rejecting that idea. Let me see the way I speak, or let me go work with somebody, you know, which I think is the fastest personally, you know. But you got to examine the pictures that you're holding, you know, and I think it all comes into awareness, because once you're aware, you can expand, you know, you expand what you see, and you kind of live magically, just like you and many people who live like this. If you read their biographies, it all has to do with, they knew what they were going to become. They just did it for a long time. They stuck to it, and eventually became very, very, very successful, and they were rewarded for the work that they brought into the world, like the Steve Jobs, the, you know, the Bill Gates, you know, the Mark Zuckerberg. What did they do? They did one product, and that they loved. They devoted, you know, Elon Musk, you know, you know, what does he do? He does what he loves, you know. And you see, when you read his story, I mean, he almost lost everything, but he went for it because he believed so much in it, you know. And this is what you also need. You need belief in yourself, and believe that if, you know, God or source, whatever you want to call it, gave you an idea, give you a talent, go with it. You have everything you need. Don't doubt it, just do more of it, you know?
No, I tend to agree. Well, I'm going to ask a fun question, because this is just a fun one to before we wrap up, and that's this.
Sure.
What's your favorite photo you've taken? I got to ask that question. If maybe you don't have a one in particular, but it seems to me like, because photos have played such a big role in your life, I mean, there's got to be, I know this when I write something, like when I catch something, it's like, okay, that was really good. Like, right? I'm sure you have your own, like those moments into your own art, like with your own art. So for you, what was it?
My favorite photograph?
Yeah, that you've taken.
Oh my gosh. I have so many, but I have so many.
Just talk about a couple. I don't have to be like your absolute favorite, but you know the ones that impact.
I think, in all honesty, every photograph that I took, that I put out there, is my favorite, because I feel like I captured. I feel like, okay, so before I would take a photograph, before the person will come into the studio, I would already visualize the shot in my head. I knew exactly what shot. I saw it. It was clear, like vivid. It was like it was already done. And so I would say every shot is my favorite because the end result represented exactly what I saw in my mind. And I was able to take an idea that was in my mind and transform it into a photograph that everybody can see. So every single photograph, every single person, because I love portraits, I love people, I love personalities. Every single photograph has its own uniqueness, its own story behind it. And I love it. And I think for me, each one is an achievement because to me, a project that is completed is like a book. It's an idea that you have in your mind and you're able to make it tangible. And I was able to make all those ideas tangible, all those photographs tangible.
And that's always an impressive thing.
Yeah. It always fascinated me. I'm like, oh my God, it looks exactly like I saw it in my mind, like the lighting, the way he positioned himself, like I was able to channel that energy to get exactly that shot that I wanted, and it was so much fun. I would get, it was such a high, like even today when I shoot, I don't shoot as much, but when I shoot and I know I nailed it, like at a certain point, I tell every client, I don't know, like sometimes it'll take me an hour, sometimes two, but when I'm done, I feel it, I say, we're done. It just comes out of nowhere, like, okay, we're done. Like, I just know, I got everything, and it's so powerfully, like, and I don't stop shooting until I get this, I know feeling, we're done.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna definitely check out more of your stuff because you're definitely interesting person. I guess I'm gonna have a fun final question then, just a fun final one because it says you're from Montreal and that you've ended up in Florida. How'd you do that? Like, what? Like, why did you end up there? Like, if you don't mind my asking.
Yeah, I loved it here. About 12 or 13 years ago, I traveled here for the first time, and when the plane landed, I can't explain this to anybody, but it was a phone when I landed here. I never saw Florida, or traveled here. And I have a very, very special connection with Florida, with Miami, and I think that it stems with the land of dreams. You can make your dreams come true here. I think it's the sense of freedom. Like, it's a very strong value here, and it's a very strong value in myself. And so for me, when I'm in Florida, I feel like I'm at home. Even though I grew up in Montreal, I always said, and anybody that knew me, I said I'm going to end up in Miami. I know it. And so when I started my whole vision portraits and my shift, I got an intuition that I should go into coaching, and I got the strong push that it's time to go to Florida now. It's your time. Your time has come. And I did the move. I sold everything, and I've not looked back since. I love it. I love it. Oh my God, I'm so happy.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, I get it. That you have a little bit of envy. I don't know where I'm going to end up exactly from in terms of a living space yet. I haven't thought that far ahead. I still got a lot of traveling I think to do before I finally settle down. So when I figure it out, I'll figure it out. But in the meantime,
good to you, exactly. Like now, I've lived in Florida for give or take a few years. And now I decided, because I do a lot of Florida and Montreal because I have a lot of family there, and also I always go for the summer. So I kind of live. I would say I live in two cities,
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that as of next year I want to add a third city in Europe, and I want to live in 3 cities throughout the year. I no longer just want to live in one place. And I only discovered that by making the move to Florida. I really like the idea of leaving a place for a certain amount of time, going back to it. I feel that it feels renewed and refreshed. Every time I come back here, I love it. And every time I go to Montreal, I see it differently. When I grew up there, I would be like,
No, I do understand. I've lived in a lot of different cities. I'm in Windsor, Ontario right this minute. I lived here 20 years ago. There, I had to look at the city very differently now because I'm here, right? Because I've got 20 years of experience living in places like Calgary, Phoenix, and just other cities. So you come back here and it's just in some ways it's smaller than I imagined it to be, but in other ways there are things about it I appreciate more because I haven't been around it my whole life, right? Because you see those differences. And every place you go, every place you travel, there's always these neat little every place has treasures in them. And that's how I look at it, right? Every place. And it's the ability to be open enough to see what those treasures are. That is the great joy. Now, again, I know like I'm not meant to stay here. I'm going to be going, but for the time.
But that's what I love. Like when you do that first step, like I didn't know that I would enjoy living in multiple cities, because all my life, everybody I knew lived in one city. You know what I mean? Like most of them lived in, one city most of their lives, So for me, it's like, okay, you stay in the city that you're kind of, I would say, born in or, raised in.
Mm-hmm.
So this gave me it expanded my awareness, and it said, hey, Pazit, I really love living in two cities, but I'd like to add a third,
So
and I never thought that. Like 2 years or 3 years ago, I would have never said that to you,
So where in Europe?
Where? I don't know, somewhere in Europe. I haven't decided yet, but maybe along like maybe Brazil, Spain, Italy, something. I don't know yet. It's
Brazil,
coming.
South America, but Spain, interesting. So just
I don't know. I feel like I would have to travel a bit to Europe and see where I would love to have my third place. But Miami is going to definitely be one. Montreal will, Montreal's always
it's always
home.
going to be home.
Montreal's always home, like, not real home, but it's home. A place I grew up. And so I will always keep those two, and we'll see. I feel guided. But I'm feeling this calling for Europe. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted.
Good luck.
And for you, I'm sure that once you start traveling with your van, you'll see,
I know.
The way you think, it's going to open you up to so many new ideas, so many new possibilities. Who knows where you're going to go with that,
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm at that point in my life where I'm just ready to do. I'm ready for it. It's just the prep to go, and that's kind of what I'm working on now.
Yeah.
But I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
I'm sorry?
I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
Definitely. I think we shared a lot of good stuff with everyone, and I hope that we opened everybody's possibility.
So you do a coaching business, right? And you do promote that. How long ago was your book, if you don't mind my asking?
So my book came out in, I believe, 2017.
Okay, so that was so promote your coaching business, promote what you want and how people can find you. We'll just keep it really simple.
Okay, super. So basically, my specialty is really to help anyone who wants to win in life that has not found their way yet. They've experienced many defeats and disappointments, and have not kind of like hit the nail on how to achieve that success that they want in their life. So you can reach me through my ihaveadreamacademy.com. My book is on Amazon. You can start there too if you want to just get a little familiar with me. It's called The Little.
Oh shoot, where'd she go? Give a second here, see if she got booted. Got booted. Oh, there she is.
Okay. I was like, are we off? Are we on? I didn't know. Okay, so basically this is the process that was revealed to me on the principles of how we create our reality, and how each one of you can live your life the way you picture it to be. And I think you can start there, and just you can also connect through Facebook. Pazit Perez, just friend me, say hi. Let us know.
She's cool, everybody. She actually is pretty cool. So there we go. And that will do it for this episode of Just Josh. If you want to support this podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. Click the follow button. I'm on YouTube as Joshua Pantelresco. Click the like and subscribe. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. I'm going to have an afternoon podcast tomorrow for the holiday. But until then, guys, take care of yourselves.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Point. And